Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Four Awards podcast. My name is Azarish, and I'm joined with three wonderful, awesome friends. Starting
Yo.
at the top,
Thank you.
Doom Spikinator,
What's up, baby?
Haberdashing,
Yay!
and Frostbite.
Howdy.
So, I have big news to share. We're going to do a listener question episode, but before we get into all of that, we do have some podcast news in regards to our show that we need to discuss. So first and foremost, I want to announce that I am turning in my resignation. I am stepping down from the Four Awards crew. We will have a replacement relatively shortly here, but I just wanted to make you guys aware before it happened what was going on. I got a promotion at my new job. I've had it for the last month or so, but I recently made the decision that I needed to focus more on work, and that means cutting back where I can. So that's kind of the gist of it. We won't get too sappy because I'm not a big emotional person, so
I'm getting sappy.
don't get
I'm
sappy.
getting all verklempt. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic.
Honestly, I think we are all extremely happy for your promotion, and that ultimately, there's a lot of things that we have to prioritize in life, and I'm happy that things are working out for you. And honestly, you've been a pleasure to podcast with, Azarish, for the last year.
Yeah, it's been fun, guys.
Hey, man. Yeah, real life comes before the show, and I mean, we say that in the network about everything, and we all cover each other and support each other, and many endeavors, inside and outside the network. And I just Azarish and Haber were like the two founders of the podcast, and they held auditions, and that's how Frost and I ended up on the show. And
The journey to 30.
Yeah, the journey to 30.
Yeah.
When I was
Oh,
originally
I
called that.
forgot about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I just want to say, personally, just thank you so much for bringing me on the show, and for so many awesome, super fun episodes. Your Lux fangirling that never cease to entertain, and how you always seem to be the devil's advocate against everything, which always brought interesting changes and dynamics to our conversation. So thanks so much, Azarish.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. It's going to be sad without you.
You guys will be okay. You guys will be fine. It'll be
Yeah,
fine.
you're right. We'll be fine.
Yeah, don't worry. You won't even know. For a month from now, who the fuck was that guy?
Who was that? As the
Dark
last-
Ages.
Kittens?
Guys,
Aster of
I mean
Kittens?
Jesus.
Yes,
It's awesome having
Pod-
Jesus on the show. Now
podcast
he's-
Jesus, White Devil.
Hair is so long. Oh, God. All right, so rest of the news. I figured so with my departure is going to come a lot of changes to the podcast itself, and as I'm not going to be here for them, I didn't feel it was my responsibility to talk about it. So we're gonna go ahead and leave this over to one of the other guys to take care of that.
Yeah, I think I'll chime in here and say, we've put together, I think this is our 57th episode at this point, right?
57, yeah.
57.
Yeah.
Wow. 57 episodes. And so many of our shows have followed a very common format. It's almost like lecture style and stuff. And, we've covered so many different topics. Anything from team fighting to trading to last hitting, like all over the place, and we've talked in a lot of detail. So, but there's a lot of things about the show that we feel like we could improve, and maybe make it more engaging, and maybe change the direction of the show. And we're really excited about some of the changes we have planned. But at the same time, we put this show out and you're our listeners, and we're definitely going to be looking for feedback from you in the upcoming episodes about what you think about some of the new changes to the format, and ultimately what you think of the show, because we really here for you, and we would love to hear what you think.
Yeah, a lot of it, we kind of started to think that we started to sound like an Audible wiki, and we don't want to just be that. because it's nice to hear it from someone, and those things get backed up by people with like different situations and stuff. But we want to teach you, and the goal still of the show is going to be, moving you forward in your gameplay, period. But maybe be less encyclopedia-ish and try to keep it a little more fun and dynamic. So we're going to try out a lot of things, but I mean, like Frost said, we need your feedback. Like, email us, tweet at us, whatever. And a lot of the reason we're doing the changes too is because of your feedback. So we want you to know that we're listening to you, as much, if not more, than you're listening to us. And we just we want to make sure that we're producing good quality content for you that you're going to love, and also get better in our interviews and lots of other things. We're still fairly young as a show overall, and we want to make sure that we don't get stale or stagnant.
Yeah, and I mean, while you're at it, you may as well, hit up Asterisk and thank him for being on the show for so long and everything he's done for it.
Yeah, please,
So-
at Asderishan on Twitter, blow it up, and yeah.
If you listen to Deluxe Jam backwards, he actually might. There's a small chance that he might appear at your house, but just FYI.
What are you talking about? Small chance.
If you say Lux in the mirror 3 times.
Lux doesn't appear.
No,
That's the
what
best
was the old name of her alt?
Finalis
called?
Yeah.
Funikin,
Yeah.
whatever.
Finalis
something like
Funkin, yes. If you say Finalis Funkin in a mirror 3 times, that's what does
Yeah. Something like that.
it.
German, yo.
Fucking finale.
Right. So, should we move forward in our discussion here?
Ah!
Yeah.
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 Uh,
Get into some listener questions.
Hey
Let's do
guys,
it.
and in case for your feedback, no, we will never kill that pun. The pun will never die. Go for
Absolutely not. It is infiltrating other networks, and I love it.
There we go.
So, let's just start out with this one from Michael Guada. Guada, am I saying that right?
I think so.
I call him Guadu.
Guada?
What do you?
I think it's water.
Whatever.
Guada?
Yeah, so he says, "Hey, Poor Awards crew, I've got this question and I was hoping you could help me with. I'm trying to figure out when I should team fight as a jungler. In my low rank of Bronze 3, the normal thing seems to be to want to fight around level 9 or 10. The 2 teams then proceed to dance around the middle lane turrets, like at an awkward middle school dance, right? The mid lane shuffle. They stand there and never really hold hands. Now, I like to play tankily junglers, but when my team starts calling for grouping early in the game, I try to avoid it because I'd rather try to farm up a couple more levels and items. I'll only really team fight if I see the enemy team grouping, but if they're still in their lanes and my team wants to group, I'll continue to farm. So basically, when is a good time to start team fighting? Am I crazy, or are my fellow bronze players right in wanting to start grouping mid around level 9 or 10? Thank you.
You gotta
A
be
really
you gotta
good
be like
question.
that. You gotta be like that cool kid at the dance that just goes for it. You gotta go for that little ass grab. You gotta be
Oh God.
I don't think there was ever a cool kid at the middle school dance that was
Did you
known
just
for, oh my
advocate for
God.
little kids to go ass grabbing?
No, I did not.
Aaron
I am.
looking at me across the dance floor, and I knew right then, as soon as he grabbed my ass, this dance is going to be off the fucking chain.
Fuck yes.
And this team fight's about to go down.
No!
No, I mean, honestly, I think that, and kind of going back to the high interview, because that interview just inspired me so much, you have to just, start pinging and fucking do it. Just
Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf, do it. Go in and engage a fight. You see, someone overextended. You see them trying to do a objective. Go for it. You see a tower open, you ping the shit out of that tower and you just go push it down. Like, organize your team with pings as best you can. Be aggressive with your pings and just go for it. If you are decisive in your actions, people will decisively follow you. So just
You're
do
that
it.
tanky jungler that you say you like to play. That is really your wheelhouse. You're the one that's going to be the best at initiating fights, because you can soak up damage, and most of the time you should have like a good amount of CC to start stuff off. But I'm not saying you have to be the one to like go into mid lane and decide what happens. There's a lot of stuff that happens besides that. You know, it doesn't always have to come down to a mid lane shuffle.
Yeah, so I want to say here, before, I think Doom and Haber hit on a really good point about, you know, so you say you like tanky junglers. There's some tanky junglers, you know, that are perfect for exactly what Doom was talking about. Like if you're playing a Mumu, like this is a godsend situation for you, because if you hit that perfect bandage toss, or like you get into the middle of their team and then you hit the good ultimate, like you can carry your team to victory. It's amazing. But not every jungler works the same way, including some like somewhat tanky junglers, like a Udyr, for example. Like he's not really the best initiator. So it's about recognizing, you know, what is your champion's strength and what is like your win condition. On a lot of tanks, like Haber mentioned, like you're usually the one getting in there and you're breaking up the awkwardness. But honestly, the number one tip I could give you for about this situation, and it's definitely helped me a lot, is really regardless of who you're playing, try and anticipate when the ARAM mid is going to happen, and then like set up beforehand so that way your like side lanes or where you need to be on the map, like you're already good to go to be in the optimal spot.
And
9 times out of 10, the mid lane shuffle starts when either the top or bottom tower goes down. And it's like, well, what the fuck do I do? I guess we'll go mid.
Yeah. And there's a lot of opportunity in that situation, because a lot of people are like, well, what do we do? We're at a standstill. Well, that's actually the perfect time for you to try and push a side lane, to try and take a dragon, steal a buff or something, you know, get wards down deep in the enemy jungle. Like, this is the prime opportunity for you to go actually make something happen on the other side of the map, because you know what's going to occur. And I mean, that generally does happen. At least once you get that stupid standstill where people just kind of idly stand there until somebody makes a move or a lane pushes, and then somebody's like, well, we can't sit here anymore, we just wasted 4 minutes.
Right.
So
Yeah,
make something happen. Just do it. Yeah, it's really quite straightforward.
The thing about you know, not engaging in that ARAM mid is nice, because in low elos and bronze, a lot of people are going to they're gonna, you know, kind of want to go for that ARAM mid, and they're gonna notice your whole team isn't there, but they're not going to take advantage of it. They're just gonna sit there and like try to deal with like that 1 or 2 people on your team that's there. Meanwhile, you got like 3 you bashing in top or bashing in bottom lane or taking a dragon or like warding the hell out of their jungle. You know, you're gonna gain so many more advantages from that than, you know, letting them try to dictate this team fight. You know, bring the team fight to you. You know, make them make a move. And, you know, at the end of the day, to win the game, you have to knock out the Nexus. Doesn't matter how many kills you get. So even if you just focus on sieging other lanes that they're not at, then what you can do a lot of times is just bring the fight to you. You'll get that gold advantage, and you'll get that XP advantage from shoving down the waves and shoving down the turrets, and you'll get closer to their base by doing it. And then you force them to engage onto you, and you're stronger than them when that happens, and you win a team fight and go.
Yeah, I think it's really about looking at both team compositions and, you know, analyzing the state of the game and saying, you know, where would I be most effective right now? So, you know, going back to the Udyr versus Mumu example, if I'm playing a Mumu, you want to get in there, you want to start the fight, you want to recognize when you can win the team fight, and you want to just go for it like we talked about. But, you know, if you are playing somebody who's like more of a split pusher, is not that great in team fights, like set up a side lane beforehand, or maybe, you know, recognize that you've got a Ziggs in mid lane that can probably just wave clear during this whole thing, and then you could just like run to a side lane and cause chaos. Or
Yeah.
drop like a ZZ Rod if like that's the type of
Yeah,
tanky
Banner.
jungler that you're playing or
Banner.
something.
hmm
I love
And I
that.
mean, like to answer that other question, level 9 or 10, that's honestly kind of late to be starting like the big team fighting sections. A lot of that should be happening sooner.
And remember that team fighting doesn't
Can be
necessarily
happening
need to
sooner.
be your entire team.
Right.
Like it could be 3 or 4 people, and that's still considered
Mhm.
team fighting. So don't necessarily think, okay, it's only when all 5 of us are grouped. Oftentimes, you don't even want all 5 grouped because that usually means that you've not got pressure on other parts of the map. And in bronze, I can guarantee you that's happening. So fighting as 5 is dangerous in lower elos.
Yeah, and
It-
honestly
I
too,
find more
like
success
because
splitting.
yeah, and well, a lot of times too in lower elos they don't focus on vision as much, and if you just
Exactly.
like maintain vision dominance of an area and go and hide out in that area, if they come looking for you, they tend to be very bad at collapsing. So just go to an area, clear out all the jungle camps, and like wait in a death brush, jump someone, get a pick, and just go from there. You know, sometimes you can just start fights by getting a pick, and then sometimes they're dumb enough to all file in after.
That's the best
Um,
way to start a team fight, with a pick. You find a pick,
Yep.
you engage on a lane, and then you take an objective. Like that should be, as a tanky jungler, that's your go-to, like 6 through 10, since that seems to. I mean, honestly, that's when most team
Mhm.
fights start to occur. 6 through 10. That's
But-
usually what you want to do.
Yeah.
and
I mean,
and I'm
to
sorry.
wrap this up here, because I think we're just kind of going around the same point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say if you are playing those tanky junglers, don't be afraid to be the one to initiate, because chances are, if you feel you're at least on par with the enemy jungler, and things are going well, it's a good team fight. But don't limit yourself to just doing that mid lane shuffle. There's 100 other things on the map to do, and if it doesn't seem like that's going to be the best thing to do for your time, figure out something else you can be doing.
Mhm.
All right, so we'll go on to the next question. This is from our very own Gray White. Yes, the
Gray White.
yes, he is the producer of our show. He says, "G'day, guys." He is from Straya. How do you determine which stats to emphasize on a champion? AD versus attack speed versus crit chance, for example. Armor versus health, for example. I'm looking for a general approach when researching a new champion to play. Great show. Love the audio work.
It's pretty good. I gotta say, it's
It
damn
is
near
good audio
perfect.
Almost.
But I guess for this question, it really comes down to 2 big factors: the champion you're playing and the situation you're in. So I mean, we can talk about. I'll bring this to the bottom lane here for AD carries. What do you stop dancing? Stop dancing. No, fine. All right. Everyone else dance, so he stops and he sees it's not cool. No, this is a feast for the listeners at home.
Of
Welcome
course.
to Sprockets and now we dance. Does anyone else get that? Am I the only old fuck who gets that?
I feel like I should know that. Is that
Yeah.
Night at the Roxbury?
Kill
No.
yourself.
Okay.
It's related. It's SNL. All right.
Damn it. Okay. So, like in bottom lane, if you're an AD carry, there are a lot of different items you can rush first. You have Essence Reaver, you have an Infinity Edge, you have Blade of the Ruin King, but it really depends on the champion that you are. The only champion I ever see rush Infinity Edge is Jhin, and that's because his kit scales really well with all the components that go into Infinity Edge. So
Yeah,
it's really important on the champion that you pick.
Yeah, I mean the way it says here, it's like, a general approach when understanding what stats to go for. The stats that are best on a champion are the stats that work best with a champion's kit. Like the Jhin example, Infinity Edge gives him a lot of what he's looking for. And sticking with the idea of marksman, you're more likely to see somebody like Lucian, who can benefit from an Essence Reaver, going that route,
Right.
casting a whole bunch of abilities, things like that. Whereas someone who's like Caitlyn is probably very reliant on auto attacks, is more likely to go like kind of the IE rapid fire
Hurricane.
cannon route or Hurricane.
You know,
It's There really is no way to say generally you should build these on X champions because Riot makes every champion a little bit different. So to make the best use out of that champion, you have to use the items that are best for them. And you go onto any site, champion.gg, pro builds, there's a lot of items that are very common on them. And there's normally like a core 2 to 3 items on every champion that you can kind of see these are the items that synergize best with their kit to get the best bang for the buck. And then the next 3 are normally dependent on the situation that you're in. And we've talked about it before on the podcast too.
So, I mean, specifically, Haber's referring to like what most champions will scale with, and if you're curious as to what your champion scales with, we're usually looking at specifically abilities and passives. And if, like, for example, AD carries, a perfect example of an AD carry that would prioritize attack speed over critical chance is Vayne. She would get attack speed before crit chance any day of the week just because of her silver bolts and her general output of damage is just better with attack speed. Also, her ultimate gives her bonus attack damage, so it's just generally better against somebody who favors a lot of crit chance, like Jhin, where they just get a lot of just better damage out of sheer, AD and crit chance, and not as much attack speed. So you got to look at what the abilities and the passives of your champions favor, and go from there.
Yeah.
The tanky
And I
aspect
think
of things. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think with crit chance especially, like crit chance is really a stat that's used on like really heavy, like damage oriented, like auto attack champions, whereas like, for instance, AD and attack speed. It was very common for a lot of Trundles in top lane to go like Blade of the Ruin King for a long time, and then like go into other like tankier items because he can just, if he gets that one item between the passive on that item and then just a little bit of AD and attack speed, he can be like a bigger threat to towers. He can wail on bruisers, but like he doesn't need to get all these different stats like crit chance and all these things. Like he can focus on being tanky enough to actually get up to targets. Whereas a marksman, might really their job on a team is to apply a ton of like auto attack damage. So they need like attack speed, AD, crit chance, armor penetration. Like they need a lot.
Like this all kind of starts, I think, if you're serious about figuring out what's going to be the best, is really going to like a wiki page for the champion, seeing how good their scalings are, the actual numbers and everything on their abilities. Just because like if someone's got a 1.0 bonus AD ratio on an ability, that means that they're going to do well building lots of extra AD to get the most damage out of that.
Yeah, and you mentioned armor and health, and it's a little bit similar there. Like, if you think of a champion like a Malphite versus a Dr. Mundo, like, there's extra bonuses and incentives for building certain stats. Like, Malphite likes getting armor, It doesn't mean if he's up against an all AP team, he should only build armor, but like he gets extra benefits out of it, and so like it might make sense for him, against a relatively even team to lean more one way or specialize in that regard.
No one stat is better than the other. It really comes down to what your champion scales with and what the situation calls for.
You have to.
Best item.
Yeah, you have to look at the game that you're in too, because if say the other team, you do a lot of AD damage, the other team starts stacking armor, you want to make sure that you're getting some RPen in your build. If they start stacking magic resist, then instead of building and stacking that AP, maybe you want to get some magic penetration in your build. So really look at that stuff. But the others were saying, really look at the champ too, like say Malphite, who I love. He has two abilities that give him bonus damage based on his armor, and scale with damage based on his armor. Plus, he gets the passive on his W passively gives him a percentage bonus armor, and then also his passive goes off of his percentage of health. So obviously health is also a good thing to build on him. With that said, though, too, if they're a very AP heavy team, either A, maybe you shouldn't have picked him into it, or B,
I want to play Malphite.
yeah, B, maybe you just need to play, build tankier and focus a little more on magic resist and health, even though the armor would benefit your damage or AP would benefit your damage. Maybe it's better to build that, tank and focus more on the utility of your abilities.
You could also work backwards. Like you could go onto a site like Champion GG or Pro Builds. You can see a build that a lot of people are running for a champion, and then be like, okay, it seems like a lot of people are buying this item on him, and it's like, why are they all building, Essence Reaver? And then like you look at the champion and you can see, oh, this kind of makes sense. It looks like he uses a lot of abilities. He scales with this, etc. And like you can kind of work backwards from what a lot of people are building and kind of understand why people are building it, and it usually goes back to what they scale off of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So bottom line, if you're looking for a new champion to play, check out guides, either YouTube or any other of the sites that we mentioned. Figure out what's core, go from there.
Yo.
So, moving on, Steve, you got it?
Yeah, sure. I'll take this. This is from
Steve.
Eric. Hi, Trinity Force people.
Hi.
For Wardsians, I suppose. My name is Eric Undertoned, and I thought you might find this topic very interesting. As a longtime League of Legends player,
Is he saying like his name in game is undertoned? As you're saying, like we should read it like my name is Eric.
Yeah, that's what I wasn't sure about. My name is Eric.
That's how he goes into every conversation.
Eric.
Hey guys, my name is Eric.
My name is Eric.
It's very nice to meet you.
Hey guys.
Well, anyway, Eric.
Sorry, Eric.
As a longtime League of Legends players, I seem to be falling into the same mistake over and over again, no matter how many times I play. I've gotten better at handling this, but it still catches me off guard. The topic is scary skills. I cannot tell you how many times I've been in lane or in a team fight, and out of the blue, my screen goes dark, and here I have a raspy voice darkness. I don't know what's happening, but I feel my heart skip a beat, and I have a feeling that my whole team is about to die. And a quick response is to immediately retreat and find out that I just ran the wrong way. Or scenario 2, I see Blitzcrank trying to walk around some minions for a nice pull. I start to step around and find the enemy jungler has flanked us. So my question is, how do you guys hold your cool when the time comes?
This is a great
Whether
question.
it's a Nidalee Spear or Nunu Ult or Vork Stare, like how do you handle that? And also, P.S. Lux Singularity is OP.
Damn straight
I
it's
wanna-
OP.
I want to relate. I want to relate this to like a lot of like horror films nowadays. Where do you get most of the scares from horror films nowadays? Like Insidious, any of the Paranormal Activities. Where do all like those? Where do like the big scares come from?
I mean,
Any-
I think usually
anyone?
what I think is scariest is when you don't know what's going to happen.
Right, it's
You know, the
it's those
suspense.
it's the jump scares.
I don't think
Those
that
fucking
he's-
jump scares.
I don't think he's referring to the jump scare aspect
But,
of it.
hey,
I think
let-
he's referring
Let,
to
let,
not...
me, let me fucking tie it around here.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Snap.
Like if you take out that sort of like apprehension and not really knowing what's going on in the situation, it's not really that scary. So like going into League, if you know, okay, Nocturne's going to ult right here. Okay, Blitz is going to walk up once that minion dies, or there's jungle pressure coming for Blitz. He's going to start walking forward here. Learning to expect when that's going to happen helps you keep your cool because you know it's going to happen.
Exactly. Yeah, it's about.
Except for
talked
I
about-
shouldn't have mentioned Nocturne's ult. That's just fucking scary no matter what, especially with the
I love
Eternal.
when
Yeah,
Nocturne
oh god, it
It's supposed to
sucks.
be scary. But
Like-
really, we've talked about this in the past, and I think it's one of the most important skills if you're trying to get better at League is trying to anticipate what's going to happen next and then plan around it. So things are scary when you're kind of in a moment like, oh crap, like they grouped up in mid and we're grouped up in mid and they're kind of fed and their Malphite looks like he might engage at any moment and now I just lost vision and like I don't know, it's like, and then you don't know if any moment, like if you leave right now, like your whole team's gonna die, and I can understand that. But the more you like learn to recognize play patterns and make educated guesses of, okay, he's probably gonna do this next, you start to play around and anticipate that. And if you're wrong, which happens, you will be wrong. Afterwards, you ask yourself, okay, why was I wrong? What did he do that made me act in the wrong way? So that way, the next game you go into, you can, plan more accordingly.
Maybe I'm just reading the question differently because I feel like he's more like speaking about that in the moment. I've already been caught. Like,
okay,
a lot of people already know that they're going to get blitz hooked when they're up against a blitz. You know that you're going to get jumped on by Nocturne when you play against a Nocturne. That's not fucking rocket science. It's just part of the game. I think.
So let's say like when you're a jungler and the other enemy jungler invades you and you didn't have vision of it and suddenly you're jumped. Is like that sort of thing?
Yes. Like, I mean, you already know that you're going to probably get jumped. I think they're more specifically talking about how do I respond and accordingly, like in that moment. Like, yeah, I already knew I was going to get jumped. Maybe I wasn't thinking about it at that moment, but like how often are we actually always thinking about, the fact that we're going to get ganked? We just think about, okay, I'm going to get ganked. What am I going to do when I get ganked? This is the plan. Now, and that's the apprehension and the foresight that you need, is you need to know what's going to happen specifically when he does it, not necessarily like that he's going to come. You need to know, okay, when Nocturne ults me, if there's no one else, like knowing where people are perceptively before Nocturne ulted, I know Blitz is over there. I don't need to flash right now because Nocturne's the only threat, and he doesn't have that much CC on me. Okay, he got the fear off, Blitz is closer, now I can flash. Or, oh, Blitz backed off, Nocturne blew fear, it doesn't matter, Blitz backed off, I'm fine, I don't need to flash. It's that knowledge of, okay, I'm seeing what's occurring, and I'm responding in tangent with what's occurring, not the foresight, because you're not going to predict every single thing that occurs in a game. It's taking it step by step, being like, okay, Blitz is here, Nocturne came in, Blitz doesn't threaten me, Nocturne threatens me, Blitz is now threatening me, I got to flash, I'm safe.
That's true, but I think also kind of going back to Frostpoint is that if you think more ahead, you'll find yourself in less oh shit moments because A, you won't put yourself in them, and B, if or when they happen, you'll be more prepared for them. You'll know, like, okay, there's this many people on me, there's no point in burning my flash because I'm gonna die anyways. Sure. Or okay, there's this many people, if I flash this way or flash over this wall, they don't have a dash or a flash to get to me, so I should be safe, or things like that. And as you're going into those situations, you want to
that's you knowing,
well,
he used his flash, he can't use his flash to follow me.
It's having more foresight so that when the oh shit moments happen, you have more knowledge and more pre-thoughts process that has happened that prepared you for that moment.
Let's talk, like, okay, when I get jumped, if I'm in the jungle or I'm going to a lane and suddenly there is this person in the brush that I didn't expect, there's a few things that go through my mind. Like, first, what do I have available first, shit.
Thank you.
Second,
yes.
What do I have available that I can use right now? Third, where's the rest of my team and how can I get to them?
Like, these are things you should think about, because oftentimes you're not going to be able to foresee the fact that you might get caught in a specific place. Like, sometimes you just get caught. And I guarantee, I mean, that happens to me all the time. It happens to a lot of different players, like in a lot of different games.
There's some mitigation you can do, but you will still get caught.
Mitigation. I feel like there's more mitigation in the moment than there is in the foresight. I can stop myself from ever getting ganked by warding, but what happens when I get ganked? Like, that's
right.
That doesn't fucking matter if I'm in the middle of a gank. So it's this idea of, okay, first off, you gotta breathe. Like, if you don't breathe, then you're just gonna blow your flash and waste a cooldown, and you're gonna be like shitting yourself, crying because you're like, he wasn't even following me. Why did I flash? like you have to breathe. That's
Mhm.
Yeah, I
number
think
one
keeping your
important thing.
cool is definitely really important.
Right.
Like,
At the end of the day, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, that's really all I had to say.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's just just another champion, which there's 8 others, not including yourself, still on the map. So it doesn't always mean that you need to get the fuck out of there as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You can turn this to your advantage, lead them to your team, and then turn the tables on them.
And
It
always
really
look at,
is, yeah, keeping your cool.
yeah, and always look to see like, all right, I'm gonna lose this. I'm gonna die here, or I'm gonna lose this fight here. Minimize your losses. Then, can I? All right, they're all focusing on me. Can I lead them away from my AD carry so that only I die instead of me and my AD carry dying? Or can I ping the rest of my team to back off so that I just die instead of them? Can I juke around and just waste their time so that they spend that extra 5-10 seconds killing me, which allows my team to reposition somewhere else? Always think of those little things too. Don't be afraid to die in those instances if you're just going to die, but just think of, how can I make this the best death possible? Like, can I take one with me? Cool. Can I, by just going ham on them? Cool. Can I waste their time? Good. Do whatever you can.
I mean, especially like talking about that getting flanked or getting ganked sort of scenario, it helps to learn the warning signs of a gank. Most people can't control themselves when they know that their jungler is going to come gank. So, they will start walking forward, or they'll try to lure you in. And if you get better at reading those signs, you can get better at avoiding the situation together.
Mm-hmm.
People are
Anything-
always just watch their movements.
Oops.
Like, as soon as you can just tell, a lot of players are pretty easily read. You just gotta watch them.
Yeah.
I mean, really, that's, and people are like, well, how do you know? I mean, you literally just watch them. Like, it's not, again, it's not rocket science. It's really not that. It's not that difficult. All you do is just watch them. What is out of the ordinary? What do they do that's out of the ordinary?
Yeah. Let's go from there. And mind if I read the next question?
Look,
I
Singularity.
think
Yes.
that, Asterishan might want to read this next
Oh,
one.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
You should.
Oh,
You
yeah.
should, buddy. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is from Alex C. with a follow-up email. 2 weeks ago, I sent in a question about having trouble on my main champions at the start of the new season. Shortly after sending in the question, I decided to bite the bullet and pick up a new champion. After trying several, I landed on Lux. Good boy. We really clicked. Good for you. I've been spamming her in ranked to great results. However, when playing Lux, either I'm CSing well or harassing well, but never at the same time. How can I fix it so I'm able to do both consistently? That's a good question. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, with Lux specifically, I would encourage you to try and find ways to CS and harass at the same time using Singularity. I mean, you're already going to be maxing it, and it's
Yeah.
going to be your primary damage dealing tool as well as wave clearing tool. So
Look
if-
for ways you can kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And always follow up an ability with your passive. Don't get yourself killed doing it, but if you land a Singularity and you get an auto attack, that harass right there will make most early trades worth it. And
Yeah,
if
the
you can
E
get
and
CS,
Thunderlords is brutal.
if you
Mhm.
get CS out of it as well, that's even better. And it is this idea of using your spells to CS and do damage at the same time. Now, if you're doing that, you're gonna have to understand that you're gonna push the lane, which means that you're gonna have to ward and you're gonna have to roam. So get good at using your ult from decently long ranges, because you're gonna be sniping people. You're very rarely gonna be using your ultimate in your own lane. I use my ultimate on other lanes more frequently than any others, until I can just insta-kill somebody in my own lane. Because early on, Lux she doesn't have that much. I mean, she does. Don't get me wrong, she does. If you can snare somebody low and get an ignite on them, sure. But it's after a couple of items that she can really just insta-give somebody.
I also
want
wanna
to use your ultimate to clear.
I really want to add in here too. I do agree with Asderson that there's definitely times where you can look to get CS and hit spells at the same time, or like harass at the same time. But there are situations where I think a lot of people play AP mids and they are really not used to how little their auto attack damage does.
Mhm.
So I definitely would encourage you, if you're really playing Lux a lot, maybe you spend 10 minutes before you hop into your rank game, just like practicing CSing, maybe spend some of that time just like focusing on learning her auto attack and what it does and like how much damage it's going to do. You won't always need to CS with your auto attacks, but like developing that skill is really important because
It's
unlike
so
80
important,
carry,
yeah.
you're not going to have like a long sword or a Doran's blade to help you CS.
Yeah. I mean, it depends who you're playing mid lane, I guess. You could play a couple. Okay.
Well, I mean, if you're playing Lux though, people
Fuck
don't
it, build
usually
a
get
Doran's
long
blade on
sword
Lux. Fuck it.
Yeah. I mean, I used to run when I was practicing CSing on mages. I was running some AD runes to help out early on.
You could do that.
It does help.
Mhm.
Little it does.
Like, I want to take it back here. I think Mike is right. It really depends what you're doing with the wave. You can't see the weight, like the minions in the game, as something that you really can't affect. They're going to die at just whatever time they're going to die. You have a lot of say over what happens to those creeps and managing their health. It's another thing that you have to do, and it sounds like we're piling on more stuff, but it helps to mitigate losing CS while you're harassing too. You can't always be looking to harass if there is a cannon wave on the other side while you don't have your own cannon, or vice versa, because the wave's going to push it differently. And you have to look for those opportunities. Okay, those minions over there are still like half health. I can get off a few spells before I need to go and auto attack them to death. Or that minion's just going to die here in a second. That takes priority over harassing too.
Yeah, and I really want to say here, this is a bit of a general trading tip, but it's crucially important if you want to get good at mid lane. Like, you need to master trading and CSing at the same time to the point, but you rarely want to just give up CS to go for a trade. There are times where you're going to get like a massive trade, and it makes sense, but like, if there's a chance you might not get that much harass off, and like you're like definitely gonna miss minions for it. Like, definitely focus on hitting your CS, and then when you don't have a CS to go for, and like they're gonna go for a CS, that's usually one of the most optimal times to go for a trade.
Mm-hmm.
So learning to manage more to manage less.
Yeah.
Sort of.
The other alternative is if you want to just avoid trading altogether, you use your spells to zone. I do that a lot. I'll find an early mana regen item and be spammy with my E and just not even hit minions, but make sure that I'm just trying to hit him and not follow up with my passive, but just try and get him like half health, then wait, and then as soon as he gets into a position where I could snare him, then maybe kill him or threaten him and then just farm safely.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's almost always better to get the CS and farm rather than to harass. But once you have the CSing aspect down, then we'll start working on the harass. So, and you'll build it into your game well. So
totally focus on CSing over anything else.
Because about every 15 CS is about a kill.
Yeah, it's 13 to 15 depending. Like 12 to 15. 12 to 15.
Yeah, 12 to 15. All right. From there, we've got a question from...
I think this one was the one we did at first. We should probably do the one after that.
Yeah, that's what I saw. From Alberts4. So, hi there. With the release of the new Hex Tech crafting system, I found myself struggling to reach S rank. A typical rating for me is a B- to C-, even if we win. I'm Silver 3, and I often have high death counts, even if I'm actively trying to play safe. Does the lane you pick matter? Is mid Lulu rated differently than support Lulu? Otherwise, taking support's mid seems an easy way to pad stats. What factors are taken into account for mastery rating? Thanks. All right. The rank system for like what you get after a game has a lot of things that hinge on it, and some things I don't even understand. Because I had a Rek'Sai game one time where I was 2-0-6, and I got an A-. So, but one of the biggest things is not dying. So start looking at your, your matches. Start watching your replays and say, what's causing the deaths? What was it? And a lot of times you'll find it's positioning.
Yeah, I think before I even get into the answers regarding the rank score, I think if regardless of whatever elo you're at, like if you find yourself getting high death counts, you really should start to look at and critically analyze your play, figure out why you're dying so much, because it could be for multiple reasons. You could be over engaging, you could be getting ganked, it could be a whole bunch of things. But look at some of your games, try and notice trends, and then ask yourself, if you were in the same situation in your next game, how could you have played it differently to avoid dying? And like get into that pattern, because I swear like that's one of the best ways to like move up and improve in this game.
Yeah. I think as far as like the rating system is concerned, I know that it takes kills your KDA into account. It takes your CS. I'm pretty sure it takes in warding, like how many wards you drop, how many wards you kill.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are the only
I can't remember.
Yeah, it's the thing is Riot has never like explicitly said these are all the things. I don't think they ever did explicitly laid out.
I remember reading a formula, and it was like
Hmm.
death reduced your overall score by like something percent.
I got an S+ with 10 deaths once.
Really? Well, I have no idea then. I mean, I remember reading a formula, and it had death, assists, kills. CS was definitely in it. I'm pretty sure wards were in it, but I can't remember. It was on the PvE back
stream
when Soraya
please
was
for you
talking
guys?
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
a little bit.
You guys froze at like
Just-
the funniest time. I wish people saw what people saw on my screen.
Yeah, we'll just keep going.
But yeah, I agree. There's a lot of the factors Esther has named are things that the score definitely must look at, but it's hard to say what exactly is like the key. I would just say focus on playing the best game you can, and usually the games where I feel like I played really well or like just stomped, I usually get like a better score. But like I tend to not care as much, if I feel like I did well and I get like an A instead of an S, like it really doesn't matter.
Yeah. I don't.
But the system does.
It has to have
track.
A formula.
Yeah, but it does track. It rates you. It does, but it also rates you against people who do something similar. So it will rate you different if you take Jack's top versus taking Jack's jungle. It sees the difference in items, summoner spells, and it does rate you against people who do something similar.
Are you sure?
Yes, I
think it does.
As soon as I saw that, yeah, that was part of the announcement
Hmm.
that they could make sure that it's because if you want to do something that's completely out of the box, it's going to rate you against people who do something similar to that. Versus,
Yeah, so according to League's own site, it says it's based on the champion and role that you just played in a game. So, for example, we look at Annie mid differently to Annie support. We take series of performance metrics and compare how you do to all other players in your region in your champion position combination. It is percentile driven, so earning a high score means you performed in the top X% of players on that champ in that position. The grade itself governs the point gains.
But they
So-
don't say the
No.
specific factors.
No, they
I
don't
mean,
say the specific factors.
It
but
has to do something with kill death, but Overall, yeah, deaths play a large part in what you get in your score.
And I generally, when people say like I got a good KDA, why didn't I get a good score? There's usually something else that stands out. Like maybe they got poor CS numbers, or maybe they didn't ward, or there's a lot of things you can improve on in a game, or maybe like just your whole team was crushing it. So like it really, it just seems so one-sided, and you won so quickly. You didn't even really need to put out a standout performance.
Yeah, and you gotta think too, like it depends on the champ that you're playing, because if it's champ that's not often played in the role a lot that you're playing it in, or that maybe certain people tend to like really master, it will it can make your score very wildly, based on the play. Like, I would say based on that, since it's going based on like the top X percentage of players on that champ in that position, that if there's less games played, then it's a much more varied, like
it's pretty skewed.
rating.
Like
yeah,
like say you want to play Vayne jungle, and not very many people play Vayne jungle anymore. But there's some people that play Vayne jungle to such a degree of success that it still will bump down your score, even though it looks pretty average for you, according to the system.
I think I see how it works. It's weird. It basically does like two systems. One to calculate your score, and then one to compare it against other people depending on the role.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
Overall, it's like a percentile.
Mm-hmm.
So you fall into the X percentile of people playing Lulu mid versus Lulu support.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Interesting.
I wish we had more details on how that's all calculated, but
I do too.
from what we've seen and what we know so far, it does depend on the position and champion that you play.
Yes.
I didn't know that it was a rating against your global, like against other people that did it.
Yeah.
I just
I
thought
wonder
it was
if
like a grade based off of just how well you played that game.
I wonder if they don't want to release all the specific info because they feel like maybe people would just like pad their stats in a certain way to like only emphasize certain things, or like the main objective
They
is always
might.
destroy the Nexus.
Right.
Yeah.
And it does calculate heavily. I don't want to say heavily, but I haven't gotten an S in a game that I've lost.
You haven't?
Yeah, I don't think
No.
I've gotten an S in a game that
I
I've
don't think
lost.
I have
I think
either.
I've gotten an S plus in a game.
Unless
I've
like
lost.
you're the only person carrying.
Yeah, I
and
mean it was
somehow
a
you,
horrific
lose.
like yeah, but
I mean, I've done amazingly well in games and still gotten. I mean, I don't see why you can't if it's based off of your rating against somebody else. I don't know why you couldn't still get an S. You just, I'm gonna guess that a win or a loss is a huge factor for the ranking as well, though.
yeah, I really don't know what it looks at besides like a lot of the stuff that would make sense, like keeping death down, participate in kills and farm and ward and all the the stuff.
Yeah.
Do we have time for one more, or we're gonna just wrap it up here? I think I don't know.
I think we got time for one more. Yeah, we got
Okay.
time for one more.
I guess I'll read this one then. This is from Coxycat. Says, "Hey, Four Awards crew. My friends and I had a discussion the other day about how long is too long to sit at base waiting for that last bit of gold to finish an item. I know there's no magic number, and each game it has different mitigating circumstances. But could you guys talk about what you think about how much time for AFK shopping? Keep up the awesome podcast."
I actually do have a set number for this. I mean, in all honesty, if you want to get a specific item and you have plans for getting a specific item, more often than not you're going to find ways of getting to that specific item before you back. Now if you back and you're just like, oh hey, I'm really close to getting a BF sword, and you just happen to notice it, I would almost encourage you to default back to what you were originally planning on doing, because you were already anticipating getting that item, than waiting, the extra 30 seconds to get the BF sword for something that you didn't initially plan on in your game. Now, I mean, a lot of players can compensate for that, like on the fly transition, and quickly adapting your playstyle. But I mean, it's generally better for you to just go with what you're planning on doing if you don't already have a plan in mind, or if you're just like all of a sudden, oh man, I can get a needlessly large. I think I'm gonna get a needlessly large rod. Like, just because you can doesn't mean you should. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and you.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say you also got to look at it from the aspect that what is the enemy doing while you're doing that. So if it's allowing them to get free farm, if it's allowing them to push a tower, if it's allowing them to get a big objective and one that like you could have been helping with or contesting against in that time that would have taken you to walk from base, then it was a poor choice.
I lose one wave. I will do one wave, and that's it. 30 seconds, no more.
Yeah, I mean, it's very hard. It's very, very hard to distinguish that. But overall, a lot of times that comes down to pre-planning. So if you hit the P button on your keyboard, which is the default, it'll pull up the shop. And you can check real quick what the cost of that item is. So if you don't have enough gold, don't go back yet. Go and clear that one extra jungle camp. Go and clear that one extra minion wave or something like that. Just get that gold before you go back, so you're not running into that issue as often.
I think Doom hit a lot of major points, but before we lose it, I really want to say it's about looking at the situation of the moment and making a decision. Like, a lot of times it's going to be perfectly fine to wait, 30 gold or 40 gold to like finish whatever item you're working on. But if you leaving the fountain pad right away and going to like wave clear will save an inhib tower, like you should go. Like that's more important than, you having that item if it makes that big of a difference.
Mm-hmm.
But in a lot of situations, like, if it's a big power spike, like, if I'm gonna finish my Zonias, like it would have to be something pretty crazy for me to not wait, like 30, 40 gold to like finish Zonias.
Yeah, but even then, Froz, you are probably backing knowing, okay, I just hit, my gold.
But we're saying like in the scenario that you were like a little bit off and need to wait.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree. In
off
what?
Because you anticipated, like you're off.
Off because you suck ass at math.
Maybe sometimes there's just like there was some sort of skirmish, and then you're in the jungle with no camps around you to farm, and it's like, but you have to back now because you're low on health and mana. Like,
okay, see, that's fair, and at that point you just back. I still don't think you should like force a buy. I don't know why the thought process is like, oh man,
if
I
it's
have
30,
to buy something.
Well, if it's 30, 40 gold to finish like a core item.
I'm not waiting
something,
like a minute.
It shouldn't be like you're waiting 30 seconds to buy a long sword or some shit like that. It really should be a very small piece of the cost. Like you're waiting 25 gold to do a BS sword. You're waiting 40 gold to finish your Infinity Edge or your Death Gap, something like that. It's really going to make an impact.
Right.
Exactly.
In the fight.
Right.
If it's a power spike, like you should. As most cases, if it's a significant enough power spike, you're willing to wait a few seconds to get that power spike. Very rarely, if you're gonna get one of those big upgrade items, like would you not want to wait for it? But you do have to look at the situation, like Doom mentioned, and if it is really dire, and like you leaving right now versus leaving like 10 seconds from now is going to make a huge difference. Like sometimes, as painful as it is, you might have to bite the bullet. But like most cases, I'll just wait for the power spike.
And make that decision as quickly as you can. Like the longer you take to make that decision, I mean, you're probably just making excuses for you to sit around at base to buy the damn thing, which is fine. Just accept that and don't be a dick about it. Be like, nope, I'm gonna wait to buy my freaking pickaxe, and you have to sit there and watch me. Like, just be honest to yourself about it. Don't be like, okay, what am I doing?
But like, I wouldn't even wait. I wouldn't wait to buy a pickaxe.
I wouldn't wait to buy a pickaxe either. But if you get like 30 seconds in and you're now like 15 gold away and another 10 seconds will do it, you might as fucking well. But be honest with yourself. You wasted 40 fucking seconds. Like, you need to recognize that you made a mistake right there and next time you got to make that decision way quicker. Like, you should have backup plans for if something doesn't go your way. I have backup plans for my jungle if, say, someone takes my blue buff. I know, okay, if someone takes my blue buff, I'm probably going to get a fairy charm early to compensate for this and sell it later on, or I'll go into a different like mana regen build depending on what I'm playing. Like, you compensate for the things that are going to happen. We were talking about it last question. It's this, awareness of and foresight. Plan on the fact that you may get to base without enough gold, and what you're gonna do if that's the case. Like, you shouldn't be waiting longer than 30 seconds. I honestly believe that.
And a pro tip here, we did this as a trinket tip a long time ago, but if you back and you're waiting to like finish an item and then run back to lane like real quick, like you don't actually have to wait right where you recalled to. You can kind of go to the edge of the fountain and still buy the items, and like make sure you kind of familiarize yourself with like where that edge is, because it's
they
only going to
standardize that too, so it really is just
It's
around
like
the
stairs.
pedestal.
Think about this. It's where the stairs are, like where the
Yeah.
stairs
Yeah.
meet the
It's
flattest
not-
side of the ground.
It's not centered around the shopkeeper anymore.
So like that could save you 2 seconds, and most of the time that won't make a difference, but sometimes it might, and like it's worth doing that because
Yeah, but-
it's not hard.
Frost, 2 seconds every back.
Yeah.
That ends up almost being a minute in like saved time collaboratively.
Exactly.
depending on how many-
Backing
Definitely
30
recommend doing it.
times?
Hell yeah! How many times did I back? all
30
the goddamn
times a
time?
game?
I
30 times a game.
probably
30
around
times a
30
game.
times a game. Yeah.
In a 30-minute game, you're backing once every minute.
So, well, okay, maybe not.
Well, 2 waves. Better
30.
fucking back.
But closer to the like higher side of 20s, yeah. I think I read a stat that the average League games has something like 22 to 24 backs per person. So 30 backs really isn't that preposterous. If the
That's
average
like a
is
lot.
22, 24.
Yeah, that seems
Does seem
like a
That sounds
lot.
really high.
I don't think
Yeah.
it's that high. I mean, how long do games go? Right, I just played a 45-minute game, and I had to back twice within like a minute one time because I just
Wait,
got jumped in my
wait,
jungle.
24 per person? That can't be right.
Yeah, on average.
I
Uh-oh.
really
no,
don't think that.
I would say
right.
2 to 4.
Give us the
but
sauce.
Per
2 to 4 is no,
backs
2 to 4 is
per
on the
fucking
low
game?
side.
Backs per game. I'm talking about literally the time you, how many times you press B to go back to base. You think it's less than 10? I guarantee it's not less than 10.
Yeah, it's
I'm
probably
thinking
around
it's probably
like
closer to 10 though.
No way.
15 at the most.
Jeez. You guys should count how many times you back. I can tell
I will
you for
now.
a fact that
I haven't thought
backed
about it before.
probably around 20 times at least.
If anyone has any
And on
numbers
longer
on this,
games.
feel free
Yeah,
to
to
send
back
them
up-
in. I'd be
To
interested.
back
Reddit.
up Michael's claims
I
here.
read it. Let's see. Is either season 3 or season 4? That statistic.
Okay. All right.
I
Interesting.
can't remember which one,
I
but
don't know. It just sounds like a shit ton of times to back during a game.
I mean, there are some people that back plenty of times. But I mean, you play ADC, yeah, you don't want to back that many
Yeah.
times. You play top lane for a couple of games and watch yourself get like shat on, and you're like, oh god, I have to back every single time I go up the lane. I guarantee you, there are people like shaking their heads because like, Jesus, he's right. Like, how many times do I back in a goddamn game? I'm telling you, like,
I'll
just
have to-
count. Just count. It'll
I
impress
will.
you.
I will count. I will count next time because I am curious.
I never thought of that, though. That's interesting.
Yeah,
It's a lot more than
Yeah.
you guys think. I would guarantee you.
you're probably right. So,
Anywho.
anything else we want to add into the show here before we duck out?
I don't think so.
Just keep sending us in questions and send us some feedback as we roll out the next few episodes here. And keep on listening. Thank you so much for your support.
Yeah. See you guys later.
I count deaths as backs real quick.
No!
No!
Okay.
Get the fuck out.
That's like your
Different.
instant back. I sometimes will suicide to golems or shit if I want to insta back.
I do.
I'm kidding. I don't.
Podcast. That's why Michael left.
Bye
the show.
guys.